Well, that was your
Unfortunately,
response. That was
slavery.
your response into if
Well,
reparations should happen. So your
I
response to that was, like it or not, slavery was legal, and one would think that that was a defense on those who were
well, what
asking
you
for
would think it was a
reparations.
defense,
Yeah, let him answer
but
that.
it is not a defense. Unfortunately, slavery has been part and parcel of human history from the very beginning. Asians enslaved Asians, whites enslaved whites, blacks enslaved blacks, Native Americans enslaved Native Americans. This is a culture, the Western civilization, that had a revulsion against it. We had a civil war against it. And we ought to applaud ourselves for doing something about this. This is a flawed country. It's moving forward. It's becoming more perfect.
What's up, you guys? This is Real Talk Corner. I am your host, Ariana the Quantum Healer, and my co-host, Sabrina Williams, in the building. Woo! Well, we are back, and we are going to be covering some stuff tonight. We're going to just jump into it because we have a pretty, I don't know if we'll be able to watch the whole thing, but we'll watch as much as we can. Larry Elder. And you guys know, we told you we were going to be covering the presidential candidates. We said we would be bringing it to the table so we could talk about it, so we could show you guys who's running. But interesting enough, another breakfast morning. What is their fucking title? Shit.
Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club morning show. Another epic fail for them in interviewing presidential candidates. And we're going to wonder why. I haven't watched all of it. I saw some clips of it myself. So we're going to watch it all together for the first time and see how we feel about it. I ain't going to say nothing else. We just gonna watch it. I ain't gonna say nothing else about it. We just gonna watch it, y'all. If you want to, though, gotta get out the fucking mindset. It's no one saying that slavery didn't happen. It happened. It's rough. Racism is still alive. No one's saying that shit don't exist. But it doesn't have to be your whole life. And I think we talk about this so much on so many damn shows that it don't have to make it your life. If you make it your life, that's what your life is gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, technically, you are still in that slave mentality because you are still allowing it to control your thoughts and the way you move now.
Right.
So, I mean, honestly, you're still in that mentality. I mean, you're being a slave and don't even know you're being a slave to your own, your own thoughts and your own things that you're stuck in.
Right.
Right. So if it's constantly there and you're constantly thinking about it and you're constantly letting it allow you to move forward in the things you want to kind of break traditions and things, like you said, our ancestors and the things that they went through, you want to break those things. But if you're not trying to break those things, what are you really doing? You're still kind of being a slave to the mentality of being stuck in that time. Right. So you have to me, it's to me, it's no one saying forget about it, because no one's saying forget about it. We know it happened. We know it was a fucked up situation. Even to this day, the undercover racism and all those type of things, and the government ways of still controlling type slave stuff or whatever. It is a fucked up situation, but at the end of the day, to me, and I always say this, people have choices. And if you choose to fall into that type of thing and stay stuck in that mentality, you're not doing any good. You're doing harm to yourself. Because
Right.
to me, I would take that same motivation to push me every day to break those type of things, to not, repeat that. Because like you said, I mean, to me, it's going to be repeated all over again, just in another way back to what we was talking about, like even with, videos and
Right.
the generation today and their mentality, and it all
Right.
goes back all over again. It's just going to be a different type of abuse.
Right. I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a guy, he has dreads and he does this TikTok story time should end or something. I know you've probably seen him come across your feed somewhere. We're going to do him. He has I think over 100 different TikTok story time. And I want to tell you that majority, probably more than half of the stories are unfortunately young Black females. that are in these horrible, tragic ass relationships, getting beat, getting cheated on, shot, beat up, all of this stuff. And it's their TikTok story, though. It's their story of their life and this. And it's just like, when you look at that, you're like, something's wrong here. Something is wrong here. And can't keep blaming everybody else. Got to look at the home, because I do look at more traditional values, and not saying it's all about you got to go to church and all these things. I mean traditional values as far as mom, dad, and a strong family support system. Where parents didn't play, grandma don't play, uncles and aunts don't play. Your ass more scared of them than you are of doing shit outside of the home. That shit is real.
That is so totally
The respect
true.
for your parents. My daughter was a very good kid. She did not do a bunch of crazy shit because she respected me in a way that most of her peers did not respect their parents. And that's the reason why she did not get into a bunch of shit. That's the reason why she wasn't hurt. And she had a lot of friends that was in a lot of crazy shit. And she'd be like, nope, because she was more scared of, was my mom gonna do?
Yeah. And disappointing you when you have those traditions, you have those values. Your children grow up with those values. They do. When they're in situations where they're like, do I follow the crowd or do I not? Because I don't want to disappoint.
Right.
And a lot of the times they don't follow what their peers is doing because they don't want to disappoint their mom. And their peers could care less. They have, like you said, no respect for their parents. They could care less if they upset. But, children that we're raising and we're trying to raise them with values and morals and stuff, they're like, no, I don't want my mom, I don't want my mom and dad, to be upset. So they'll choose other. And that plays a big part in a lot of the choices this younger generation is doing.
Hell yeah. And my daughter didn't have her father in her life, but she had my brother. My brother is that male figure, like I said, and he changed his life. So she got to see somebody that was more positive as far as going to work and handling and things like that, but I was the type of mom that wasn't going to play that because I knew she didn't have that father figure in her life. And again, like I said, my daughter wasn't a bad kid. She didn't do bad shit. I didn't get calls. And wasn't nobody calling me like your daughter fighting and all this shit. No, because I would be like, you're not going to start something, but you can defend yourself and I got your back. So it would be like, you got to remember, is this shit worth it? Is it worth it? Because I was not fighting and carrying on in front of my daughter, her growing up. I wasn't out fighting people and all this other extra shit because I would always look at the consequence of me losing my shit right now means my daughter has to go live with someone who's not going to fucking take care of her. So I always had to think about that. I always thought about that before I just blew off the handle and shit and start fighting and carrying on. So I always had that, like, where's my daughter going to be if I fucking lose my shit in this moment? Is it really that serious? No, y'all can have that. You can have that.
That plays a really big part. The twins are 16, and I can honestly say they're 16, and they never had a fight. They're not rowdy. They're not disrespectful. My daughter is not sassy. She doesn't think she's grown, and she's 16.
Right.
My son, the same thing. He's very respectful. Even with them, with getting hired, their first job, I went, to introduce myself to their boss, and I thanked her for giving my kids the opportunity of getting the job. And she's like, oh my God, they're a pleasure to work with, said so many great things. And it all goes back to that, even that, to me, it goes back to the parents and how you parent plays a big part. I was telling one of my friends, I said, well, I'm going to go up to the kids, job and I'm going to introduce myself to the, to their boss and thank her. And she's like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to thank her and let her know, thank her for giving them the opportunity. This is their first job. She didn't have to do it. And I just wanted also her to know and the staff to know that they have parents that are involved. Because also in those type of settings at jobs, let's be honest, these managers can be very nasty and very rude. And when they see children that don't have no one, they take advantage and talk to them nasty. And, I just wanted to introduce her, introduce myself. Same thing with their dad. Their dad, will introduce himself all the time when he goes to pick them up at night. He talks to them so they can know that, my kids are here working, not because they have to. They're doing this because they want to. And it's a big difference. And plays a big part in these managers when they are talking to these children, and they see, because at the end of the day, you're gonna get, oh, if you're rude to my child and you're nasty to my child, you're talking down to my child, I will be at the job. I will have to talk to you. We have to have a conversation. Because you're not gonna talk to my kid any type of way. That's what you're not gonna do. And it plays a big part, and a lot of parents don't realize that it does when, in any situation, even at school, down to the teachers, the same thing. If the teachers feel like there's no one there, they're rude to these students. They're, say little smart things because they know there's no one there. But when you introduce yourself and you let them know that you're very involved, they think twice about what they say and how they say to your child.
I remember my daughter was in 3rd grade, and she came home and said her teacher hit her. And I was like, your teacher did what? Got on that phone. I happened to be off that day too. Got on the phone and I was like, my daughter just came home. I want to meet the teacher in the morning. Like, we need a conference. Not 2 weeks from now, not 3 weeks from now. I will be there in the morning. Sure enough, we got there in the morning. And I just, I have a resting bitch face. So I don't say shit. I'm just going to look at you. And I want to hear what you got to say before I go off. Because, of course, I know my child is a child at that. You know what I mean? So but I walk in there with that look like, you better say what, you know what I mean? It better be more to this story than what my child is saying right now. And then when she got to talking, she said my daughter had fell asleep at the desk and she tapped her. And so she jumped when she tapped her, which was like, I can understand that, because when you fall asleep like that, someone taps you, you could jump thinking it's harder. Sometimes it sounds louder than when someone's calling you. But then we had kind of got into some of it, because also she was trying to complain about my daughter going to the bathroom too much. And I was like, if she says she need to go to the bathroom, because she had an accident. So I brought it up. I was like, if she says she needs to go, she needs to go. My daughter is not going to sit at this table. And I've already told her, if she needs to go and you don't let her, she will walk out this fucking classroom, because before she has another fucking accident at this school, she will be in that bathroom. And I would rather you call me and we have a discussion before my daughter is pissing on herself because you don't believe that she needs to go or she has a small black. And then never had an incident with the teacher after that. Because I was like, you're not going to talk to my kid and just teach her. I could see things happen. And I was like, okay, I get it. You didn't put your hands on her. So we're going to squash that. But then let's talk about this other subject real quick. Let me let you know that I have told my daughter, if she needs to go and you don't let her, she will walk out this fucking classroom. And I do think you need to be involved in your kids, because again, my daughter didn't have a father. So I was like, you're going to know that I'm here. I may be working, but when it counts, I'm going to be right up in this fucking school, letting y'all know that she is protected and she is guided. And so you will have to answer to me if y'all fuck up my kid.
I mean, it really plays a big part in with them growing up, even down to their friends, even down to their friends' parents. A lot of people don't realize, a lot of parents they're not involved, and that's why a lot of the choices these children are making and it shows. You can honestly see what children have parents that are not involved.
Right. I didn't believe in that whole, to this day, I still don't believe in that whole technology, put them in front of tablets and all that bullshit. I'm like, no, I don't believe in any of that. And I don't believe in letting little kids be disrespectful and do whatever the hell they want to because they're having a moment. I'm like, you better check that moment, but I did raise my daughter to where it was just like, I don't care who it is. They're not going to disrespect you. So I don't care who it is, not a teacher, not no one. If they're coming at you a certain way and it's disrespectful and you have done nothing to this person, that's what you call me. I'm your mom. I will fucking show up. And that's how I instilled in her, like, you don't got to fight these battles by yourself. And they will understand that you have somebody here. The same thing like these boys, like I always talk about, I have 2 10-year-old grandsons that I've helped raise. And these little boys are so smart and intelligent. I've had my grandson move his desk away from kids. It was too loud because he could not hear. He asked the teacher, and the teacher was surprised, like he wanted to move. And my daughter was like, yes, because he doesn't like disruption. He's trying to learn.
Exactly.
So if he's trying to learn and he keeps telling you that these kids won't shut up and you don't want to listen, well, then move his desk. And so sure enough, teacher moved his desk and he was cool in the corner by himself. Like, no, you know what I mean? Like, no, it's like, no, we're not raising these kids to be like that all over the fucking place. There's a time to socialize, there's a time to talk, and there's a time to do your work, and there's a time to learn. And when your
Mhm.
kids are showing general interest, help them so they can like it, so they can love to
Mhm.
learn, not just, oh my God, we're here and this is party and social
Mhm.
time. Because I know as a kid, I used school as my social time because I hated being at home. So school was like my let loose and and have fun because I didn't want to be at home. And so you could tell the difference. Like you as a parent, not to say that every good parent is always going to have a bunch of good kids, because there are some
Mhm.
right?
That
Just like
grow up to be like, what the fuck?
just like the same way where it's some horrible parents that actually the kids are like, fuck this, I'm doing
Mhm.
better than this. So there are exceptions in the rule, but I agree with having a strong foundation for your children. And if the father can't be there, then the mother, the brother, the grandma, everybody got to fucking step up, because it does
Mhm.
take that village to make sure this child knows you're loved, you're protected, but you also will get your ass whipped doing some shit out here. you know
Exactly.
you don't got
Mhm.
to worry about one person. You got to worry about multiple people whipping your
No,
ass.
it's true. That's like you don't want to disappoint your auntie. You don't want to disappoint your cousins, your uncles.
Right.
Like it plays a big part, and it does. It makes them have different decisions when they're in those hot seats when they got to make that decision, because I mean we can't protect them forever, so they are
No.
going to be in situations where they have to make a decision for
Yeah.
themselves.
Right. Right. Definitely. Definitely. I know we kind of veered off, y'all.
Very different things.
Well, it
Slavery,
was well,
slavery,
that was your
unfortunately,
response.
slavery,
Well, that was your
unfortunately,
response. That was
slavery.
your response into if
Well,
reparations
I,
should happen. So your
I,
response to that was, like it or not, slavery was legal, and one would think that that was a defense on those who were
well, what
asking
you
for
would think it was a
reparations.
defense,
Yeah, let
but
him answer
but
to.
it is not a defense. Unfortunately, slavery has been part and parcel of human history from the very beginning. Asians enslaved Asians, whites enslaved whites, blacks enslaved blacks, Native Americans enslaved Native Americans. This is a culture, the Western civilization, that had a revulsion against it. We had a civil war against it. And we ought to applaud ourselves for doing something about this. This is a flawed country. It's moving forward. It's becoming more perfect all the time. Today, if you are born and raised in America, if you finish high school, presumably one where you can read, write, and computer grade level, which is why I support school choice. Don't have a kid before you're 20. Get married first. Get a job. Keep a job. Don't quit it until you get another job. And avoid the criminal justice system. You will not be poor. And if you don't follow that formula, there's a good chance you will be.
The first GOP debate is coming up, and you didn't qualify, and I saw you writing.
Well, you didn't say I've not yet not qualified. It's not until August 21.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw you writing the op-ed that the Republican National Committee has rigged the rules of the game by instituting a set of criteria that
Right.
is so onerous. What is it? Onerous.
Onerous.
Onerous and
Mhm.
poorly
I
designed.
mispronounced Tupac, so you mispronounced onerous.
That's
So,
right.
so we're even.
You are really petty, man.
And he said, and poorly designed that only establishment and billionaire candidates are guaranteed to be on stage. Explain to us why that system hurts people.
Well, I ran for governor of California. I got 3.5 million votes. It seemed to me that made me credible. The RNC is requiring us to have 1% or 40,000 individual donors. In 2020, the DNC required you to have 1% or a certain number of donors for reasons that I don't quite understand. The RNC is requiring you to have both of them. One of the candidates in this race is a multimillionaire. He's offered a $20 gift certificate if you give $1. Another one is offering a free, air quotes, country western concert if you give $1. Another one is giving you a commission if you are a prospective donor to go out and get other prospective donors. It seems to me that corrupts the whole process. I'm doing it the old-fashioned way, Charlamagne. I'm asking people to support me and go to my website, larryelder.com, and give me at least $1. If I get $1 from 40,000 individuals, I will be up on that stage in Milwaukee on August 23. And when I get up there, game on, hold my beer.
So why is this system? Is this system holding you back?
Go ahead.
Would you say it's a system holding you back?
I would say it's unfair. It seems to me this early, the voters ought to decide this. I mean, in 2016, there were 17 or 18 Republican candidates. Now there's 13. Somehow, some way, our republic survived, and we could survive with 13 candidates. I don't know why they have all this rule to eliminate certain people at this point. But rather than
those systems can hold you back no matter how hard you work, right?
I'm going to say, but rather than whine about it, my goal is to get on as many shows as I can, like yours. Urge people to go to larryelder.com, give at least $1, even if you want somebody else Don't you think it's wise for us to talk about the epidemic of fatherlessness, the lie that America remains systemically racist, and the need for school choice? 13 public high schools in Baltimore, 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Are you kidding me? 53 public high schools in Chicago, 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party is opposed to school choice, while the party elites, whether it's Barack Obama or Gavin Newsom or Joe Biden, have their own kids in private school. It is wrong, and we need to talk about that.
Larry Elder, why would somebody from our community vote for you, or why should they vote for you? Why should a Black person vote for you?
Because
before we go there, that big part which they're not addressing is that school choice. And what a lot of people probably don't realize with that is you are kind of like bound to your zip code. So if you are in a poverty-stricken zip code, you're going to go to the shitty schools, and your kids have to, mandated by the zip code, they got to go to that school. And before, there was a time, because I remember when my daughter was small, there was a time that you could pick another school if you decided, because they weren't going to offer a bus. They were like, well, we're not going to offer transportation, so you need to figure it out. And you could be like, hey, shit, I'm gonna drop their ass off. And then they changed that to, it's like, nope, if you live here, you got to go to this school. There's no way, unless they started the magnet programs in some places, and then you had to qualify, you get on the lottery and hope your child gets picked. And unfortunately, I'm not gonna say the Breakfast Club, they're not even addressing that part of it, which I feel like, see, this is why we're focusing on the wrong things here. Because if you want your child to do better, you can't, and the Democrats are against pro-choice in schools. They want you to be tethered to that fucking zip code. And so some of that needs, you got to look at that, people, when you guys are voting and you're going on, you need to look at that. And I'm not no party. I'm independent. I don't fuck with none of them. I'm looking at what they're saying, though. I'm looking at what are you saying and what are you putting. He has some great points here. That shit with the school is huge, and it's worse and worse every year. And if we're gonna change, right? If we're gonna change society, we're gonna change neighborhoods. This should be one of them. To where if you feel like I will drive my kid 3 hours to get to a better school, why shouldn't you have the option to do so? I've heard stories back in the day where kids jumped on a bus, went to a school way far from their house, you know what I mean? Because their parents put them in a different school. They didn't go to the hood school. They didn't go to the one that was there. Their parents put them in another one. They took the bus, they took the train, they took whatever transportation to get there. So that should be something that we're looking at. We should be looking at education for these kids. Why are we not discussing that? We're going to keep going to the system and it's bullshit. I need to run for president. That's what I need to do.
Because I'm telling the truth, and the truth oftentimes is unpleasant. It's not pleasant for me to be called the black face of white supremacy, as the LA Times did. It's not pleasant for me to be accused of being anti-black, as Tavis Smiley once called me, because I don't support reparations. By the way, Barack Obama never supported reparations. Nobody called him anti-black. We need to talk about what's going on. What's going on is the breakdown of the family. And most of the things we complain about downstream, whether it's crime or whether it's bad schools, the genesis is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and we don't talk enough about it.
Do you agree that our community is hit harder with a lot of things that you just said, whether it is racism, whether it is getting loans, whether it is getting entrepreneurship, whether it is education, whether it is all those things? You do understand that and agree with that, correct?
I do, but much of it is either self-inflicted or because of policies that we have supported, Democrats that we have supported. I wrote a book it's coming out in October. It's called As Goes California, My Mission to Rescue the Golden State and Save the Nation. It's about the one-party rule in California. California has supermajorities of Democrats in the Senate and in the House. And as a result, our schools are near the bottom. People are leaving California for the very first time. We have the highest state income tax in the country. The average price of a home in California costs 175% above the national average, all because of these left-wing policies that are hurting the very people, black and brown people living in the inner city, that people on the left claim that they care about.
Do you think slavery was self-inflicted? Or do you think Jim Crow segregation was self-inflicted? Or do you think,
slavery was self-inflicted? Of course, it wasn't self-inflicted, but there are a lot of people have bloody hands in slavery. For example, slavery could not have existed had it not been for African chieftains who were selling black slaves captured in battle or captured through raids and selling them to European and Arab slavers. It could not have existed without that. So everybody has dirty hands here. That's why reparations is such a foolish thing. If you're going to get reparations from the 5% or so of white people that have some sort of generational connection to slavery, and that's all there is, then you need to go back to Africa and get money from African countries that were involved in the slave trade and in the Arab slave trade. And by the way, the Arab slave trade was even worse than European slave trade. 90% rate of attrition, often making men and women walk on barefoot across the Sahara, and the men were castrated. Only about
so if they go after the money from the other countries, then would you agree that it would be okay to go after the money from America? Is that your problem?
When are you going to stop with this? Everybody has a grievance. I'm answering your question. There's no end. There'll be no end to this because slavery has been part of human history from the very beginning.
I hope you guys gained something out of this shit. Definitely drop us a comment. Let's chit chat in the comments and talk about this. Again, there's no wrong answer to any of this. If you don't agree, you don't agree. But as long as you keep it respectful in the comments, then we all right. So until next time, y'all, bye.